Today is September the 8th, 2016, and if you were to listen to any of the mainstream media, or probably about 80 to 90% of people on Facebook that are following the presidential election, you would think today was the end of Gary Johnson's presidential campaign. Now, for anybody listening that doesn't know what's going on, this morning he was on an MSNBC talk program, and they asked him what he would do about the situation in Aleppo, which I assume most people would think, well, what the hell is Aleppo? I know I did, and I try to stay pretty current on the news and events and stuff like that, and a lot of apologetic posts I've read to Johnson's response to the same thing. Well, Aleppo is a town in Syria that is the center of the refugee crisis and this whole the entire deal with Syria, the civil war, the refugee crisis. ISIS is involved somehow. But Johnson replied, "What is Aleppo?" And people are going nuts about it, saying, "Oh, he doesn't know anything about foreign policy. Everyone should know that. You can't be the president if you don't know what Aleppo is." This, that, and the other. So this video is going to have a tone that I'm normally going to try not to have, because I'm actually pretty upset about it. I'm a Johnson supporter personally, but the fact that they expect everyone to know everything is not correct. No one's going to know everything. Period. So it seems like a gotcha question to me also. You could have asked, what will you do about the Syrian refugee crisis? Or what will you do about the crisis in the Middle East? Or what will you do about the Syrian civil war? Any number of questions, and that he would have a reasoned and weighted response for. He asked, in the clip, he asked, what is Aleppo? And they explain it to him. He says, okay, I got it. And he explains what he would do about Syria, which ultimately is the core of the question. What would you do about Syria? What's the point of asking what you do about one town, even if the things happening there are atrocious, and reading up on it they are. Bombings and people are dying every day, and it's horrible. But if you're the president, you have to go big picture. What are you going to do about Syria? If you fix Syria, you're going to fix the towns. You're going to fix Aleppo. And that might be a stepping stone to fixing the country as a whole. But, but in a forum like that, why would you ask the kind of gotcha question about one city? Like, what's the value in that? What are you going to do about this one city and then move? And I assume they would have moved on from there to something different. Like, you should be asking, what are you going to do about Syria? That's in an interview, you want rounded foreign policy. You want to hear their rounded foreign policy. And you're not going to get that, because if you're going city by city, they're going to be very different strategic initiatives. You should be asking, what are you going to do about this crisis? So this is, it's got me riled up, honestly, because it's one mess up. And he's come out and said, I had a brain fart. They asked me the question, I thought of an acronym instead of a city, and I apologize, I'll do better in the future. He obviously knows, he has a detailed foreign policy strategy. He obviously knows what to do, what he would like to do, if elected, about a number of foreign policy issues. And he came out immediately and said, I screwed up, it happens, I'm human. I mean, that, in and of itself, is something we need in a commander-in-chief that you're not going to get from Clinton or Trump. Stein would probably do it. She seems, I don't agree with her policies, but she seems very honest and forthcoming. So she'd probably do it too. But just beyond even all of this, we're forgetting that the two mainstream candidates, Trump and Clinton, they've said some pretty disgustingly stupid shit too. And no one says, oh, they need to end their campaign. This is the day their campaign died. Let's not forget, Clinton didn't know that marking emails with C meant classified when she was Secretary of State. Not to mention she couldn't differentiate between top secret, secret, and confidential classification rankings. And she went and said, well, I treated everything as if it were everything labeled with any kind of security clearance equally. And that's fine and all if you're not schlepping your emails from a secure government from your secure government email and your secure government servers to a personal server. If you don't care what each one means, then you're going to take the same precautions with varied level of, delicate information. That's bad. And let's not forget Trump, who conveniently forgot or didn't care that Russia has already gone into Crimea and said, oh, Putin's never going to go into Crimea. It's a non-point. Well, guess what? He's already there. He's been there for a long time. So if you want to talk about candidates who have major gaps in their knowledge or their ethics or anything, the two mainstream candidates are right there for you. And I would say those two instances are more egregious than Johnson's, because Johnson has an initiative it has a plan for fixing, helping fix the Middle East. Trump sings the praises of Putin and Russia and conveniently doesn't know that they've already come into Crimea, calls it a non-point, and just doesn't seem to care. Well, that's really bad foreign policy. Not to mention he's an isolationist and this, that, and the other. I mean, just his foreign policy isn't good. It's much worse than Johnson's. And Clinton, if she doesn't care enough about what is confidential and what isn't, as Secretary of State, you should know that a C in front of an email means classified, means confidential. And the fact that she said that she thought the C was a way of them putting the paragraphs, I suppose, within the emails, because it doesn't really, the articles I've read don't really specify. It puts them in alphabetical order. Like, that makes no sense. No sense. So, out of these three missteps, I find Johnson's to be the least egregious. Now, if you forgive Johnson's as a brain fart, it's easy to see you could forgive the other two. But the fact is, Trump talks up Putin. So, not saying that there's anything there, but it leaves the door open that there could be. And you could forgive Clinton if it was a one or two time thing, but the fact that she's outright said she doesn't care to differentiate between confidentiality levels of, documents and such, well, that's a red flag. Not to mention, I mean, these were multiple emails with C's in front of them, and she didn't take the time to think, are any of these confidential? It's multiple occurrences, and for Gary Johnson, it's just one that they're blowing out of proportion. So, to me, it reeks of he's gaining support, so we're going to latch on to anything he does wrong and throw it at him, and hopefully it ends his campaign, where he's come out honestly and said, hey, I messed up. I'll do better next time. And the president isn't a sole institution. If I'm president, there's going to be a lot of people doing a lot of things. We'll be working together. It's not all on my shoulders. Everyone can't be expected to know everything. So this is something that just kind of had me fired up today, and I wanted to throw that out there. Obviously, I'd love to hear comments. I'd love to hear what you all think down in the comment section below. I have a couple articles I read for every part of this, the Trump portion, the Clinton portion, and the Johnson portion. I'll leave those down in the description. I don't know if I'm going to have graphics up on the screen for this, because I really want to get this out today. It's very important, and it's topical. So I'll try to get something on the screen. But if not, I really appreciate you listening. I'd love to see your comments below. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing. And I will talk to you all in the next one.